Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Season 8 finale for Division 2. Round 10, Interlagos, Brazil is where we are at. Take a look at the circuit. 4.3 kilometers around, just 15 corners to navigate, though a couple of kinks on the back straight. Or main straight means they aren't really true corners. Turn 12, your last real corner around here. 2 DRS zones to navigate. And at only 195 meters, Brazil features the shortest run from pole position to turn 1 of the season. And of course, let's take a look at turn 1, the first of your action zones, the Senna S. Turns 1 through 3. Of course, in race trim, you've got that big DRS straight coming up the hill in order to make that late braking lunge down into turn 1. But a quick DRS detection point on the apex of turn 2 leads to your next action zone. Turn 4, you get that second dose of DRS. Descida del Lago down into this left-hander. Another opportunity to make a pass before you head to the middle part of the lap. 3 compounds of tires as always, the soft, mediums, and hards. The mediums about 0.4 of a second slower per lap. The hards about 0.8 of a second slower than the softs. So pretty even split between the tires. In this 36 lap race, the softs can go about 20. The mediums 26. The hards will do nearly the race distance at 31 laps. So look out for drivers switching after an early safety car. And as we come into the final race of the season, let's take a look at the division championship. Of course, already decided a couple of rounds ago. Franstuff wins Div 2 this season, but we sit in P2, a 16-point advantage over Ghali, our championship rival last season. He got the better of us last time. This time we have a healthy advantage that we have to try and manage. So 16 points the difference. It's all about keeping Ghali in sight in this one. So let's head out to the circuit in just a moment. And here we are on track for our first qualifying runs. It is raining at the start of this qualifying session. We are expecting a cloudy but dry race. And potentially the track to dry up a little later in the qualifying session as well. So, as usual, racing line on with the wet. Down into turn 1, braking a little earlier. Get the car rotated. And now try and keep the back end in check. Even in the dry conditions, the back end loves to step out. And you see a big correction there in Curva del Sol, turn 3. And now down this middle straight. No DRS, of course, with the rain falling at this stage. Down into turn 4, a little wide, but we're just getting a feel for the circuit. Our first time out, expecting that drying track to make these intermediate runs, pretty irrelevant. But up through now into the technical middle section of the circuit. It's where the downforce comes into play. And you really have to get the car rotated and on track. Pathman early fastest lap, 17.1, but plenty of room to improve as we come through the middle part of the lap, just about to the end of the second sector. The sweeping downhill, flat out in the dry, tricky in the wet, and then Junsao, this left-hander up the hill. We dip a little bit of rear tire onto the curbing, and around we go. So, no lap done in the intermediate condition now. We're just going to go ahead and drive it right back to the pit lane as it is still very slippery. But we're going to jump ahead now. About 8 minutes left in the qualifying session. You can see the rain has stopped. We are on the dry, soft compound tires. This track's still quite greasy. It hasn't fully dried out yet. So it won't be the fastest result that we will get in the qualifying session. But having not set a time on the inters, now we want to try and set at least something on the dries, even though it will likely be a time that does not stand for too long. But DRS now available to us as we head down into turn 4. A little late on the brakes, not quite getting it settled. We're still using the racing line for the moment because the track is still in a changeable condition, and I also just forgot to turn it off. I do turn it off before the final run of qualifying. You can see somebody locking up ahead of us. A little bit of a lockup for ourselves as well as we come into turn 8, turn 9. A little right-hand kink as you brace yourself for turn 10. And now you can see the speed of the sweeper downhill. Not quite easing off the throttle, just a hair through there, making sure the back end is stuck. We're looking to get into the, in pure dry conditions, getting into the 108s would be a pretty good run for me. But you can see already the clock ticking 105, 106, 107, 108 already. Hugging the inside line with the DRS open. Pathman goes 114. We go 112.8. So still some time to find as the track continues to dry up in this one. So here we are jumping out for our final flying lap. The track fully dry. I was originally going to wait till the last second to go out, but realized based on the tire delta that the track was fully dry and was not going to get any drier. And the track temperature wasn't really going to change. We're after the 5-minute mark, so not a whole lot more rubbering in. But down into turn 1 we go. Right about that 50-meter board, brake hard, get the car rotated. A little wide of the apex in turn 1. Not the best run we could have had through turn 1, but good enough. You can see the amount of grip that is available now that the track is fully dried. Same compound of tires, same fuel level, but nearly a second made up in the first sector already through turn 4 to Ciudad del Lago. And we are now up to 1.4 seconds to margin. We have fallen down to P7 provisionally because as people got lap times in on the drying track, they were able to go much quicker. But we've already found nearly 2.5 seconds, now over 2.5 seconds at this point. We come through the inner loop of the track, the technical portion where the downforce is super necessary. You can see gained quite a lot of time. We're going to find about 3.5 seconds, it looks like, nearly, as we come through Junsao. Get the power down, actually going to find almost 4, and that'll put us right into about the 108.9s cross line. So hugging the inside line, DRS open, last bit of battery burning off, and we are going to cross the line, go to a 108.933 provisional pole position on our final run, fastest lap of the day. But Fran stuff does pip us by 1/4 of a second. Onyx, Chronicle, Oba Mendez sneak in between ourselves and Ghali. So we do have a front row start coming up in this one. Dog in P7, Pathman 8th, Bananarama 9th, Zhao in 10th, retired, crashed on the intermediate condition, so did not get to set a dry lap. But here we are on the circuit, medium tires. It's cloudy as the 5 red lights are up and the 5 red lights are out. We get a decent jump off the line, pulling the inside of Fran stuff with the medium tires, but it's all about just trying to be careful. So early on the brakes into turn 1, make sure and Fran stuff really putting the squeeze on us, trying to leave space for him on the inside there, but he's got the momentum to carry around once you have the apex of turn 2. So we're going to burn some battery, tuck in. Chronicle right on our gearbox. So we're going to go defensive. It's not going to be quite a move into turn 4. Chronicle stays with his teammate, goes around the outside. We're trying to leave space for Chronicle. The car really sends out wide, still leaving space. A little contact between us. So we're about to come up the hill with the right-hander. He's still got his nose there, and we're wide onto the grass, and the back end steps out. We just couldn't quite get around to the grass, and a big mistake from me here rejoining. I didn't realize Dog wasn't with the crowd, and he comes right up the inside, and a big mistake from myself in that one. So we do pick up a warning for the collision. In retrospect, probably should have been a penalty, but I don't believe it was. Recording this a day after the race, it has not yet been lodged. He does have another couple of hours before it becomes goes to the 48-hour rule. But just like that, last car running, and not the start we needed in this one. It is a 16-point advantage on Ghali, but we need to be 5th or better to guarantee that there's nothing he can do to beat us. And down in 10th, we are opening the door. All he's got to do is get up to 2nd. So there's still some work to do, but Ghali definitely does have the pace this season to get that job done. So we're trying to reel in Dog ahead of us, who's on the hard compound tires, and catch up with the rest of the pack. Luckily, there is a bit of a pack. Onyx down at the start of it in P5, so we can just about see the position we need in this one. And trying to just calm myself and drive a decent race from here. The nerves, for whatever reason, the first few laps did not have my braking really nailed down. It was really, shaky on getting the brake pressure just right. It improves throughout the race, but you can see just kind of missing apexes early on, trying to reel in the car's head. Of course, we were originally trying to go for a medium soft strategy, but that spin is going to take some life out of the tires, and it was pretty marginal to go medium soft. So at this point, I'm also thinking maybe I can try and save a little bit of tire catching up to the pack. We have burned quite a bit of battery. Still about 2 seconds off of Dog, who sets fastest lap of the race. We're only a couple of tenths slower than him, though. A 12.636. So we are doing kind of similar pace to the leaders. But you can see into turn 1, a mistake again, a little bit too much right foot as the back end steps out on the car this time. And we lose about half a second to Dog, who is now going to try and get himself involved, as it looks like The Haas has fallen back from the lead group. That means Ghali now moving up into, I believe, P3 based on the track map. Dog off the circuit. We're going to sneak up the inside. Just have to get the job done. We're tight to the inside, so we do pick up a track limits warning. Just trying to not go wide there. But Dog with no wing, we managed to get through. And he's always a tough defender when he's got a healthy car to get through. So a little bit of a breath of relief. And now 1.8 seconds off the back of Pathaman in the McLaren. And we can start to see this group. The Haas is starting to step away. I believe that is Bananarama, if I'm not mistaken. So he's starting to gap away from this little group. But we are trying to get on our recovery drive and close up. DRS has been enabled. So if we can get to within 1 second, we'll have the help of that big boost of speed. And that's actually allowed them to catch right back up to Bananarama. We're a little deep in turn 1. You can see sliding through turn 1, and Pathaman gets disconnected. So his car under AI control at the moment. I think the AI was set high enough to be modestly competitive around here based on what I saw, but we are trying to push on and connect. We actually lose Fran stuff on lap 4 as well as commentator Rupra. So a little bit of a lobby instability there for the moment. And Onyx was having trouble with his connection throughout much of the day. But we are closing up to this whole pack, realistically. Got Bananarama and the Haas in the middle. We've got Pathaman just ahead of us. And it is going to put us in a position to have DRS down the pit straight. Of course, we're just having to manage it a little bit. We are quicker than the AI difficulty setting when it's under AI control. And of course, I don't know when he's necessarily going to take control of the car again, because I leave the driver tags off for visibility. But up the inside, we're going to go burn the battery and try and leave some space. A touch, I think, on Pathaman there. But DRS open, overtake is on. And he's got great straight line speed. But looking in the mirror, I kind of miss my braking point, go very deep. I'm going to have to just cut across the apex of turn 2, lifting out a ton to give up as much time as possible. That is one of those corners where if you go too fast across it, you will get the instant time penalty. So big mistake, and that was a total brain fart. I essentially hit the brakes at the normal braking point I would have had for normal run down there, not taking into account the extra speed of the slipstream, the DRS, and the battery I was burning. And I just went so deep, and there was really no safely saving it, so I decided to cut right across the turn 2, rejoin a couple seconds back. But you can see already the battling between Pathaman and Bananarama means we're back in. I did see Pathaman rejoined, so they should be back in, and there's Ruprath rejoining into the commentary box as well. Boof was commentating this final race. Very wide goes Bananarama. He's going to have a tire on the grass. We're going to have an opportunity to maybe stick a nose up the inside coming out of Junsao. He gets a good exit. I decide not to burn battery in this case. Save the battery. It was going to be a risky run in the DRS train. So he's going to try and make a run on Pathaman around the outside. Pathaman running much lower DRS, or rather much lower wings than a lot of other drivers, which is why he's so slow in the middle sector. But you can see the pace he has down the straights. You've got Bananarama, who has DRS on the McLaren, and he's really not making a huge impression. He's starting to make a move around the outside of turn 4. We're just going to try and hang out, look and see if we can pick a safe way through, because they're going side by side and just road blocking at the moment. Lift out early, goes wide, contact between the two. We go off the circuit to make sure we don't get hit by Pathaman. Bananarama rejoins. We have to leave him some space on the inside. Probably could have shut the door, but considering the contact I just saw, trying to leave space, that does compromise our exit out of the left-hander. He's going to get up the inside of us, and he's going to go ahead. But we are going to, by sticking in behind, have DRS on the Haas ahead down into turn 1. So it wasn't a big issue to lose that position back to him. Kind of by time I've essentially saved so much battery in this one as we sweep around the outside. Kind of have to go onto the grass to make sure he doesn't swing wide. The momentum of the car loves to carry you out there, but we're going to burn extra battery just as we come down and now brake at the right point for turn 1 with DRS and overtake on. And you can see Pathaman also gets through. We're going to burn a little bit more battery, I think, if I remember correctly. No, we're just going to hold out. So we're jumping ahead now, lap 11 of 36. We've managed to gap Bananarama and Pathman. Chronicle has had an issue, and now there's been a spin and a crash involved between Ghali and Onyx. So Ghali, who was running in P2, had a spin where we did on lap 1 and rejoins directly in front of Onyx, and now virtual safety car is out. So at this point, 11 laps into this 36 lap race, considering the pain I had put the medium tires through, both with spinning and then having to push so hard to catch the gap up, pack up, I figured the medium soft probably isn't on. There is an opportunity here for a little bit of a cheap pit stop. So I'm set for the hard tires. They can get to the end of the race in this situation. And essentially my whole goal in this race was not overall position, it was covering Ghali. So Ghali stays out. He had a 5-second penalty for his instant 5-second penalty for his rejoin in front of Onyx that caused that big crash.
Virtual safety car is ending. Maintain your pace until we get the green flags. VSC ending. Wait for the greens.
And you see the VSC just about to end, so we get it almost right if we were able to get all the way out the pit exit. So we do get a cheaper pit stop. It's not the cheapest, but we've also now got the benefit of some fresh, hard tires, which compared to drivers who stayed out on more worn tires, it's definitely going to be a bit tougher for them as the pace drop-off is significant. So preparing myself, setting another set of tires, the softs just in case. But now Ghali stayed out on old hard tires. He apparently didn't pick up any damage. But we're going to jump ahead now. Lap 15 of 36. The sun is starting to come out, and we are catching some of the cars. Oba Mendez, a big slide out of Junsao, puts a wheel on the grass, and we have to take avoiding action. It does cost us the DRS. We were kind of looking to make a traditional overtake on him and then use that DRS to kind of launch forward to close the gap to Zhao, but decided to burn a bunch of overtake to make sure we just get it done and close up the gap as much as we can. I believe Zhao was also on fresh, hard tires. He was a little further up the field, but we had the pace to kind of catch him up. Chronicle's still working his way through. He's got 3-second track limits penalty, 4.8 seconds off the back of us at the moment. So I'm in P5, which is, you know, the championship position I need. I am also, though, still thinking about, yeah, there's a good chance in this race of getting a 5-second penalty for that poor rejoin. It would be deserved in front of Dog on lap 1. And in that case with Dog, I literally just misread the timing tower. I didn't realize he had gotten caught up in a spin in turn 3 and was behind the field. I thought he was with the field that all went through, and he just kind of showed up. And I wasn't ready for him, and that was my mistake entirely coming onto the racing line like that. So we've closed up through the middle part on Zhao quite a bit. So DRS open, a good amount of overspeed. We're going to have a look to the inside, get out early on the brakes, make sure we don't understeer out wide. But we do get fully clear of him, so we're able to take the apex in turn 2. He is going to get DRS back on us, so I'm using some battery to grow the gap a little bit on exit. I did get, though, a good enough exit out of Curva de Sol turn 3 to easily make my way down to turn 4 ahead. So jumping ahead once again, lap 19 of 36, and we've closed now up to Pathaman. So another driver we've caught up to, but look at the straight line speed he has. I have DRS open, and I'm in the slipstream, and I'm barely making any inroads on him. He was running significantly lower wings than where we were, but you can see the struggles that causes when you need that grip, and the exit that we're able to get out of turn 3 because we can put the power down so early, and they're going to have the extra grip. So in the slipstream, we're going to have to make a move. So we're going to brake late around the outside, keep ourselves just on the track limits, and he has a little bit of a bobble as we are right at the edge. I think he just kind of understeered a little bit wide into us, and we are now up into P3. The next driver up ahead of us on the circuit, Ghali, who did not take that pit stop. So we went from right behind him all the way to catching him up. And lap 21, he dives into the pit lane. We had closed the gap to about 4 seconds. And he is going to serve that 5-second time penalty. So my strategy was attempt to overcut him with that 5-second time penalty. And I was going to just respond on the very next lap. So he's into the pit lane. Franstuff 20 seconds out in the lead. The race win kind of off the cards at this point in the race with that tremendous gap. So we're just going to try and turn in a decent lap here. It wasn't the best run through turns 1 and 2. We're burning some battery to try and overcut Ghali, but he's going to be on a set of soft tires that are fresh, and they'll get up to temperature in the latter part of the lap. So it was going to be about even Stevens with the 5-second time penalty, as I was about 5 seconds back, but then he is going to have the better tires as we are on some aging hard tires. They weren't on for very long, so we were able to kind of rag them, but having the fresh tires was very important. And like I said, my entire goal in this race was cover Ghali's strategy. So when he was just ahead of me and he comes into the pits, I wasn't thinking about finishing any particular spot in the race. As long as I was within a couple positions of Ghali at the end, job was going to be done for P2 in the championship. So here we are into the pit lane. And a set of soft tires will go on to get us to the end of the race. It will give us really good speed and pace. And you can see come into the line, he's 19.7 seconds back at the line, or at the entry, and you lose about 22, 23 seconds in the pit lane. A little bit of a mistake with the pit limiter there. Didn't quite get it deactivated in time. But you can see Ghali on the outside of Curva de Sol, goes around the outside, but we're going to come out into modestly clean air, just about a second or so behind him and on 1 lap younger tires. So we're running P5, P6. It's essentially a straight fight now between the two of us, although I have a 16-point advantage. So even if I stay right here behind him, wasn't going to matter. We're going to jump ahead. Bananarama out of the session. Ghali had managed to get an overtake done on Chronicle, who was on old hard tires. And Bananarama out has a full safety car being called. So we're not going to go, we're going to stay out on the tires. They were only a couple laps old at this point. Other drivers are going to get the chance for fresh softs. So we are right behind Ghali with soft tires. As we get restarted, Franstuff goes. Onyx jumps early, so he's got to hand the position back to Zhao. So that does give us a little breathing room behind down into turn 1, which can always get a little bit hairy at the restart. So we do get that thankful bit of breathing room based on the aggression of Onyx jumping the overtake dog. He's had a spin in turn 1. We have a decent run on Ghali, but we're going to tuck in. We're going to stay right behind him. It's all about just managing where we're at. We don't have to go for an overtake on him. It would be nice to finish ahead of him on track, but really the most important thing is now, since he's in second, making sure that we don't get dropped via a 5-second penalty. I'm calculating this 5-second penalty that could cost me a couple positions in the race, and you never know what can happen with somebody spinning out. So I was still targeting that P5 finish, making sure I was there. But once the gap starts to open up, it begins to be time to start setting our sights on the Alpine ahead of us. But this lap 28 done, the first lap after the restart. Another lap before DRS will be enabled. Franstuff setting the fastest lap of the race. We close up quite a bit to Ghali, but we're going to jump ahead a couple of laps now. Lap 30 of 36. Franstuff has built a decent lead. We have been biding our time as we close up to the back of Ghali. We actually closed the DRS early. I'm going to let him have the lead into turn 1 and instead take the DRS off of him down into turn 4. It is a shorter run, but if you get the run right out of turn 3, and you can see using the battery, using the DRS, we are able to get clear of him. I decided to leave space just in case there was a late lunge. I realistically could have closed the door completely on him. But we are now up into P2 ahead of Ghali, and we're 4 seconds ahead of Zhao. So we are opening up the gap that is necessary, and Chronicle spins off. So Chronicle, another mistake in turn 6 and 7, and that is going to make it tough for him to get back into this race. But now we're looking at 7.4 plus a 3-second time penalty to P5. So I've set myself, even with a penalty, in that safe position here at this stage of the race, as Ghali remains in the DRS of us, only 0.7 of a second back. He does close up quite well down the pit straight. I've burned a fair bit of battery. And the other thing I started to notice as this stint went on is that he kept his front tires in better shape than I was. But here we are jumping ahead Lap 34 of 36, about to be 35. 2 laps left to go in this race, and Ghali was getting ever closer each lap to me. He wasn't quite able to pull alongside for a few laps, but as I was saying, I was burning the front tires based on driving style and setup a little more aggressively than he was. So he was getting the nose of his car on these worn soft tires into the corners a lot better than I was. So he was able to get some runs. You can see battery down under 10% now. We're trying to just keep him outside of the best overtaking opportunity down into turn 1. But he's as close as he's ever been. We've actually managed to catch up a bit to Franstuff. It's now 2.2 seconds the margin. We do have a safe distance to Chronicle, even if my horrible rejoin ends up being a 10-second penalty. It wouldn't matter. We would still have P5 and P2 in the championship. But coming out of Junsao, only half a second the margin between myself and Ghali, burning some battery down the straight. But at this point, I'm thinking it's kind of inevitable. He's probably going to catch me into turn 1. So I feign defensive. I return to the racing line, let him have the inside of turn 1. That's going to allow him to get his nose ahead. And I just hesitate on the throttle at the DRS detection point in turn 2, around the outside of turn 3. Battery being burned, DRS open. That allows us to re-overtake him. I switch the battery off early. I need to try and save enough to do a run to the final line. He's going to have DRS down the pit straight. I just need enough of a gap that he's not able to overtake me with that DRS. So it'll be a drag race to the line. And I'm trying to just make whatever ground I can in the middle sector. However, he was better in the middle sector because on these last few laps, because of having that extra grip in the front tires that I had worn through. His tire wear, he was better than I was in that regard. But I had just about enough pace to keep him right at the margin. So we're going to come through Junsao. He makes up a decent amount of gap on the brakes. This is where he was strong. It's only 3.5 tenths of a second. We are full on the battery button, hugging the inside, trying to take the shortest run to the line. He's staying in the slipstream as long as he can. He's going to try and swing out, but it's not going to be quite enough. 1/10 of a second in it. And we managed to grab P2 in the race, P2 in the Drivers' Championship for the second time in a row. 2 seasons in a row, however, no championship grabbed. We did grab a couple of wins on the season. In the second half, managed to win in China and Japan. So it feels good to grab a couple of wins. And after a tough and inconsistent start to the season, we managed to finish on a run of 4 podiums in the last 4 races. And enjoying the champagne and the shoey, of course. Well, no shoey because it wasn't a win. Shoeys for wins, which I did twice. Let's take a look in a second at the final classification. Franstuff comes home with the race win. Ourselves in second. Ghali P3. Zhao, Dog, Pathaman, Chronicle, and Ova Mendez. Onyx finishes a lap down. Bananarama, the only retirement out of this race. But thank you all for joining me over the course of Season 8 here. I will be taking a step back from FRS after this season. Definitely stepping off of the admin, stewarding, broadcasting teams. Maybe I'll feel the bug and come back and race after the new year in Season 9. But as it stands, there's not the plan to do so. So thank you guys so much for watching. Won't be the end of videos on the channel, of course. We will have the Far Cry playthroughs of myself and Dan. I'll be able to get back to editing those a little more aggressively, and I plan on doing a pretty aggressive My Team career, so I'll record and edit and commentate those. So I hope you guys have a fantastic time with that, and look forward to you guys hanging around, and we'll see what my next sim racing adventure gets into. It's a ton of fun. I just don't know that I had the time for this particular amount of effort in this league. People are so darn talented in this league that it takes me a lot. I'm not naturally talented. It takes me a lot of preparation and practice to even be competitive. So I need to take a little bit of a time reset, but it's been a ton of fun. I appreciate the FRS peeps all the time. We'll see. Maybe I'll be back someday. I'll lurk in the server. But thank you all for joining this ride. 8 seasons of racing. Ton of races, honestly. But I will see you guys next time. Peace.